Hey everyone, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ash Paulson and John Cartwright to discuss the fact that it's June. We're due for a new Smash Bros. DLC character, and we know which game they're going to be from, being ARMS. So, yeah, it's about time we get together, talk about this, which ARMS character is it going to be, how are they going to play, what's it going to be like. So let's get this whole thing started. And John, before we started this, you said you were actually the most recent one to play ARMS. So how are you feeling about an ARMS character coming to Smash Brothers?
Pretty excited. In fact, I've been an ARMS supporter since before this character was announced. I had a tweet back in, I think it was November 2018, where I was basically saying that ARMS isn't out of the running, and it was a very popular franchise. It sold over 2 million units. Which is more than Xenoblade 2, it's more than Kid Icarus Uprising, it's a lot more than a bunch of franchises in Smash, so I think it's pretty deserving of this. And there's a lot of potential for this character's moveset. And also, I think the potential of an ARMS character being in Super Smash Bros. Also breaks a lot of fan rules. Because Springman's an assist trophy, there's like 4 spirits, and I think all those spirits are pretty likely characters. So if that character gets in, then this is going to change speculation and discussion a lot.
Since when have rules mattered in Smash Brothers?
They've never mattered. No.
Exactly. All these years later, people still think they know the rules and Sakurai's limits, and Sakurai has no limits. He's proven that time and time again. And I hear you, John. So many people seem to write off ARMS as just kind of this failed experiment that's not worthy of being in Smash, or not even really worthy of attention these days. And as you said, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's, it sold 2 million copies, which, as you said, is more than quite a few characters from, quite a few games that have characters represented in Smash already. So, yeah, ARMS is deserving. It's certainly one of Nintendo's newer IP that feels like it could still stick around. I'm still not discounting the possibility of an ARMS 2 at some point. Maybe legs, who knows? But, yeah, I think it's certainly deserving, and, regardless, though, it's new Smash Ultimate content, right? So even if you're not a fan of ARMS, it's still new content, and it's still exciting, new character, new stage, new music, which is always a reason to get excited if you're into Smash like we are. So I'm excited, just like you guys are.
Absolutely. So, I'm basically the same with you as you guys. I was excited about ARMS before it came out, and then I just missed the bus when it did come out, and just never really went back to it. I enjoyed the character designs. I thought they were all very awesome, a lot of fun, but it didn't get beyond that. I do wish that the main game, I think that's one of the reasons I didn't pick up the game, is that there was no personality beyond that. We had personality, but we had no story. We had no way to further connect with these characters, and that's kind of what I like in a fighting game, and it wasn't there in ARMS, which was a little disappointing. But this is a chance to really show off more of that personality, potentially, with Smash Brothers, and see what they're capable of, and it's certainly going to be a unique moveset, with a lot of possibilities thanks to just all the different ARMS. But before we get into that moveset, who all do we think is going to be the playable fighter in Smash Ultimate?
So, ARMS took a lot of its structure from Splatoon. The rollout of content was very Splatoon-like. We got characters, we got arenas as the game went on, much like Splatoon did. And I think it's also going to take something very important from Splatoon as well, which is results. So basically, in Splatoon 1, at the end of the Splatfest, the results of that Splatfest directly impacted Splatoon 2's story. And ARMS did something very similar with its, was it Party Crash or Party Clash? One of those names.
Party Crash, I think.
And the overall winner of the Party Crash was Min Min. And I think that Min Min is a very likely candidate. And honestly, Springman was never really the face of the franchise. I know he was in a lot of marketing, I know he's on the box, but in terms of what the actual post-marketing and post-support for the game was like, Springman faded into the background fast. And when you went online, you would very rarely come across a Springman candidate. I think that's mostly because, and it's mostly highlighted by the fact that Min Min was the overall most popular character in that game. So I feel like not only is Min Min likely to be the character in Smash, but if ARMS 2 is going to happen, I think she's going to become the new box art character.
Yeah, I could totally see that being the case. And I, too, think that Min Min is the likeliest character, and she's certainly high on my list of personal wants as well. She's probably my number 2 most wanted ARMS character. Min Min is definitely up there, and I do agree with you, John. I think if I were to put my money on who I think it's going to be, I think it's likeliest to be Min Min. However, my number 1 want, of course, and I think both of you might agree, is Twintelle. And I do think that she has a pretty good shot too. I don't think she has quite as big a shot as Min Min, but I think she's pretty high in the running, only because, as you said, John, Min Min became such a fan favorite character. She won the ARMS Party Crash. Twintel, of course, did not win the ARMS Party Crash, but she is another fan favorite character. She exploded in popularity. And, I think I can speak for all of us when I say it would be really cool to see a black woman make it into Smash's roster. But in general, Smash needs more women, and it needs more women of color. And, you got Twintel, you got Min Min, either qualifies, and so I think either way, you're looking pretty good no matter who it is.
And she's an amazing design too.
Yes.
And I think what's also interesting is the ARMS cast overall are pretty different from one another. I know people look at them and just think that they're basically the same character and that you can just swap any skin. I don't think it's going to work like that though, because they all do have their own unique abilities. And Twintel, for instance, has the ability to slow down time, kind of like Bayonetta.
Right.
Which I know is not a feature people love. So do you think that would work well with Twintel, or could they refine it, or how do you think that would work?
I mean, they could kind of make her a little bit more like Bayonetta, but I did want to bring up the point that I have seen a lot of people suggest that, it could just be like a Dragon Quest Hero situation where you could swap out a couple different ARMS fighters and have them all have that sort of thing. And maybe that'll be possible if they give each of them their own unique skill that they had from the original game. So like if Ribbon Girl gets in, she'll have a triple jump, or Min Min having that powerful up, or Twintel with the slowdown, but that would take a lot more effort. So you're technically getting more than one character with that if they do have those variations, at least in their special ability. That said, the body types are so different. You can't look at Ribbon Girl and Master Mummy and Helix and Max Brass and be like, yeah, I can swap those out easily. Mechanica 2 is also quite different. Like, the four that I see that have the most similar body types, and this is just from the outside looking at character art, is Ribbon Girl, Min Min, Twintel, and Lollipop. But even then, Twintel and Min Min or even Lollipop move very differently from one another, so it makes it a lot more effort if they're going to go that route.
Yeah, I do want to give Lollipop a shout out though, because I think bouncing around the arena while shielded would be an extremely fun mechanic. She's not likely, but I think it should be hella fun to play as.
I completely agree. I have to be honest, I think Lollipop might be like my number 3 most wanted from the ARMS cast, and I do agree that she and probably the DLC characters in general are less likely because they're less well known to maybe casual fans of ARMS, or just people on the outside looking in. I feel like it does make more sense if they're going to pick an ARMS character to pick one that is more well known even to just the general onlooker, right? Which of course brings us back to Min Min or Twintel, possibly maybe Helix Ninjara, but I do really think that Min Min and Twintel are probably the likeliest picks here. Although I do agree with the Dragon Quest Hero route. I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't feel like that's gonna happen with this. I think the hero situation was a very specific situation, and I'm not saying it won't happen again, but I don't think it's something that we should look at as an example that'll be drawn upon repeatedly going forward. So I don't see that happening. And yeah, I think, as we said, Min Min seems like the likeliest pick here. Although there are so many interesting things they could do with all these characters. I mean, Mechanica, right? She's a completely unique character, and I could see her playing kind of like a Tron-Bon-esque fighter. As Tron is in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. Like Tron, Mechanica has her own mech that she rides in. There's so much they could do with that. Now, I guess, I will say, going back to the Dragon Quest Hero thing, I might be biased, because if they do go that route, that means Twintel's probably not going to be in, only because I can't see them, they can't do that. Twintel's literally the only character in the roster whose arms are her hair, in terms of the arms she fights with. So I couldn't see them swapping her out with anybody else. So if they do go that route, I think Twintel's out. But, I think there are so many cool possibilities here. Even just looking at the roster, like I said, Mechanica, Bite and Bark, that could be a completely unique mechanic, right? And you got Kid Cobra, he's got his whole skateboard thing going on. Helix is just weird in every way. There's so much they could do with him. And I think that's the strength of ARMS, right? Is that there are so many unique characters, not just in terms of their designs, but in the way they move and the way they attack and just kind of their mechanics in general.
I want to highlight as well how weird it would be to tease a character for months and then be like, it's all of them.
Right.
I think their phrasing was, it's a fighter from ARMS. And like, if it were just a multi-tiered character, I think that would be a bit weird to tease, like, specifically. It would also be very weird to tease a character from ARMS and for it to be Springman.
Yeah.
That's just like the most anticlimactic tease.
I don't think anybody expects it to be Springman.
You know, you'd be surprised. I ran a series of polls on my Twitter a few months back, just, you know, kind of asking fans, hey, who do you most want to see make it into, you know, Smash as the ARMS character? And Springman was one of the more popular choices, which surprised me. Not because I hate Springman, but I just like, he's so boring. I'm sorry, Springman fans. He's so, to me, he's so dull to me. And of all the characters you could pick from the ARMS roster, he's just the basic one. And he's already an assist trophy. I just feel like that would be so anticlimactic, as you said, John, to, you know, have these months of speculation. Which ARMS character is it going to be? Oh, well, it's the one that's already in the game as an assist trophy.
No,
so
nope, curveball, it's Springtron.
Oh God, right? Watch Springman with a Springtron alt though. Like that would just, to me, that would be like the most disappointing result possible. I mean, of course, I'm still not going to be upset. I'm happy with any new Smash content, and you know, Sakurai's working his ass off no matter what. But personally, Springman and Springtron to me would be the most disappointing outcome on a personal sense. And I am sorry, Springman fans. I don't, you know, hey, if you get him, great. I'm happy for you. It's just not who I want personally.
I get you, but I'm with you. I think Min Min or Twintel have the best chances. I think Ribbon Girl's up there. Mechanica, kind of. Lollipop, as cool as that would be, not really. Helix, I think, is weird enough that everybody was talking about him, but I don't think anybody actually actively wants him in Smash Brothers. He's just a little too weird for that, even though his movement could be fascinating. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing with ARMS, is that the way they move, the way they work, is going to be very interesting to see as far as a character-based one. But their combat is also going to be interesting because we have all these different arms and they have attributes associated to them, and they have different ways they can curve and work and multi-shot and just how they can make it work. It's really going to be fascinating to see what they end up choosing for the arm types, for your up smash, your down smash, your specials, all that stuff. What are they going to do?
The way I see it is when you select the character on the character select screen, you'll get like 3 choices to equip your left and right arm, just like you do in ARMS when you start a match. And I think there's going to be some sort of customization. Nothing too deep, nothing like custom moves, but just like allowing you to choose like a rocket arm or a dragon arm or something like that. Just something that makes each pick kind of diverse.
See, I was kind of thinking that they might, like, I guess, devote that mechanic to one of their specials. So I was thinking, like, maybe the ARMS character's down B, or their down special, would switch out their arms. Like, that could be their unique mechanic, right? I don't know if I see them incorporating that selection into the character select screen, just because there are no other characters in the game that have anything like that, right? Now, that's not saying they can't. I mean, you know, Smash has invented new ideas for characters over and over again, and there's no reason they can't do that, but it seems likelier to me that they'll keep that off of the character select screen itself and incorporate that into their moveset. And so I could see the ARMS character having 3 or 4 swappable arms that you just swap between using the down special, or maybe a different special, but the down special seems likeliest to me, because that's usually the special that's dedicated to that weird mechanic that a character will have, right? Like Hero's command spells and Cloud's limit break and things like that. So if they do have an arm swapping mechanic, it seems likely to me, at least, that it would be part of the character's down special, perhaps.
That makes sense. Just a counterpoint to that, though, I think Mii's do work kind of like how I described, where you basically you choose the character, then select your loadout. That's obviously simplified because there's an entire other menu to customize your Mii's, which I'm not expecting that. But I think that kind of integration is kind of already in there. But now that you've explained it, I think you can get a bunch more out of on-the-fly swaps than you can just like dedicating yourself to one. And I imagine just how great as a range fighter they could be. Like you can have like Min Min's Dragon Laser for like a long-range attack. Your standard attacks can be like your arms sort of springing out normally. There's so much you can do, because the arms in ARMS are so varied. And like, even the way that you move around, like when you shield, you're charging up your arms. So this character, when they're shielding, when they're sort of trying to deflect from damage, they're getting more powerful while they do that. And that's going to be super interesting.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that mechanic being put in there would be really cool. It really seems like they are perfectly made for long range fighters, but if you get in close, they're in trouble, especially if they've already missed that arm shot, because I can't see them having a close like beat 'em up type thing that we see from a lot of characters to do that like quick multi-hit attack with just hitting the A button. I just can't see that happen. They actually might be, almost a better form of the Belmonts, which makes me sad, just because probably longer range, probably a better recovery, and that's really
slower though.
Yeah, probably slower.
But the Belmont's whip is fast,
yeah.
Whereas I don't imagine like the using your arm is going to be like there's going to be some sort of delay in there,
right?
Especially with the grab, like that grab's going to be insane with its range, but it's also going to be very easy to telegraph when it's going to come out.
I imagine kind of like the grapple beam for Samus, but even slower.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the standard attacks in ARMS come out fairly slowly, and that's because it's meant to be that way in ARMS. It's a somewhat slower-paced game in that sense, where you're meant to be able to see the attacks coming and react appropriately, right? So I can see that whoever this character ends up being, even if it's a faster character like Ninjara, I don't think like you were saying, I don't think it's going to be the case where their attacks are just coming out super fast, and because they have these giant arms, they have to be able to extend as long as they do, right? And that has to take a little time. If they're too fast on top of that, that seems like it could be a little too good. So, yeah, but there's so much they could do, and what I'd like to see is, if you do have to swap arms out mid-fight, I would like to see you actually have to do that in terms of how effective are you up close? How effective are you from a distance? Maybe you are up close, but you have, as you said, John, the Dragon Laser arm out, or a Tri-Blast, or a Chakram, or something like that. And you're at that point, your close range options are limited, and so you actually aren't as effective up close. And I would say the same thing goes for the opposite, where if you're trying to fight from long range, your options are going to be really limited if you have something close range equipped at the time. So I would like to see this character be dynamic in that sense, where you don't just swap to a certain arm and rely on that one because it's your favorite, right? You actually do. If you're going to play this character, you have to get comfortable swapping mid-fight. You keep swapping, and you swap to what you need for the current situation, whether you're up close, far away, mid-range, etc.
Here's a question. Is the Flurry Rush that sort of charges up as your special, is that going to be a final smash? Or is that going to be a regular, kind of like Little Max punch? Because I'm thinking what the final smash is going to be. Because to me, the headlock makes a lot of sense as a final smash. Like just that thing like attaching to your face and just punching everyone. That makes way more sense than just like a flurry attack.
It would be more interesting for sure. Like
yeah.
I feel like a flurry attack makes sense on paper just because that is the that super move style attack in ARMS, and that you can just plop it right over into Smash. It just makes sense as a limit break. But yeah, I actually had completely forgotten about Headlock. I was never the biggest fan of that character's design in ARMS itself. That's probably why I forgot about the Headlock, but I agree. He would make for a much more interesting final smash, and I'd love to see that be the case.
Mm-hmm. Just have all those arms comes out. It'd be really cool, and have that more epic feel that it kind of needs, rather than just a standard beat the heck out of you in this one instance.
I will say, I as much as I like, Ribbon Girl isn't personally who I would want in terms of all the characters they could choose, but her stage would be a lot of fun, right? The Ribbon Ring with the constantly shifting platforms and just the general aesthetic, right? With the cool lights and just the music, and I just feel like it would be a really cool stage to look at and just play in, even if Ribbon Girl herself isn't necessarily who I would want.
That's a good point, because I was picturing, if we're thinking as Min Min, I was picturing the Ramen Bowl being the stage, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any stage.
Exactly.
Yeah. Please not the Spring Stadium, because again, most boring one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the Ramen Bowl for Min Min, the Cinema Dew for Twin Tail would be kind of cool. Maybe not the most interesting stage if Twin Tail does get in. I think Ramen Bowl or Ribbon Ring is honestly the more interesting stages, and not sure what they would do what they would do for a Smash stage though for those.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the final stage that you play in classic mode, where you fight Mass Brass. I forget what it's called, but it's like the sunset onlooking stage, and that could be a really ominous one. I don't know if the gimmicks are the best for Smash though. I think. As Ash was saying, Ribbon Girl's stage, that could be extremely fun with how it shifts, especially with the platforming of Smash.
And also, I'm thinking, Helix's stage as well is almost seems custom made for Smash with all of its potential hazards. The DNA lab, right? Which, in ARMS itself, that those DNA, those, chemical tanks act as literal barriers, and you have to kind of space yourself accordingly, and they will block your attacks depending on where you are, and they can break mid-stage. Like, if they take too much damage, they break. So that could be something that could translate really well into Smash. And I will say, I know you mentioned, Derek, earlier, that Helix might not be someone that a lot of people want to see in Smash. Again, at least anecdotally, you'd be surprised. I think in the polls I ran, Helix was like the 4th most popular character or something, maybe 3rd or 4th out of all of them. A lot of people really want Helix. It's, at least, again, anecdotally, but he's just weird enough that maybe it makes sense.
With the last Fighters Pass, we didn't really see anything apart from characters, stages, and music. But with ARMS, I'd love to see more items and assist trophies come in. Like, Helix is a great character. I think he's better as an assist trophy. If they were to bring more along, I think that would be excellent. That'd be a great way to get more representation in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he could just meld into the ground and then slide around it and come up and beat people and, easily be able to do that kind of thing.
I will say, as long as we're still talking about additional elements from ARMS, I don't think we should completely discount Dr. Coyle, only because, yes, as a DLC character, I'd say she's less likely in general, but she kind of garnered her own fan following as, like, the face of the, the villain, I guess the ARMS villain, even though she's not really a villain in that sense, but she kind of occupies that role in the game, right? And she's kind of developed her own kind of little popular following. I don't think she's nearly as likely as someone like Min Min or Twintel, but Dr. Coyle could potentially make an appearance at some point. I hear people, or I see people talk about her a lot. So she's also, I'd say, perhaps a potential element in all of this.
Really good design. Biggest problem with her is that she doesn't actually have a jump. She only levitates all the time. So that's pretty tricky to... I mean, granted, you could just have her jump normally and just have her still levitate, but it would be an odd thing and might mess with, like, low attacks against her.
I was just thinking about the grander elements of ARMS as well, and the stage is going to have to incorporate those healing things that come down. It's going to have those bombs flying around, and then there's other parts of ARMS like the basketball mini game. And the target hitting mini game. How are they going to incorporate all that stuff? I
mean, what about they just make the volleyball game the Smash Arena, the stage?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, this is the way to bring back Break Target.
There you go.
Perfect. There you go. I think it's just exciting. I mean, even if you're not an ARMS fan, just from what we've been talking about, just for this, just for the past 20 minutes or so, it's pretty easy to see that there are so many possibilities. And I think it's worth getting... I mean, I'll say it straight up. I'm not the biggest ARMS fan. I like it, and I appreciate it, and I definitely think it deserves a spot in Smash, but I'm not like... I wasn't shouting from the rooftops, hell yeah, an ARMS character, when they announced that. Now, I will be shouting from the rooftops, hell yeah, Twintel, if it is her. But other than that, it's not as though I'm like, I can't wait for an ARMS character. But even being a casual ARMS player or fan, whatever, it's so clear to see that there's so many different possibilities here in terms of not only the character designs, but the stage they could use, the mechanics they can go with for each character. There's so much variety and possibility here.
If they can take anything from ARMS, it should be the online. Let's just take ARMS online, put it in Smash.
Yes, that's the ARMS character I want in Smash, is the online play.
I think there's a lot of potential here. I'm excited to see how they'll play. Again, maybe by a series standpoint, I'm not the most excited, but I think this has the potential to be a really great new fighter with some new elements that'll be just a lot of fun to try. So... hopefully we'll see. We have no idea when this is going to be announced or shown or anything like that, but thought we'd get it in early because it might be just one of those shadow drop things. And you guys have anything else to say about an ARMS fighter in Smash?
I do have a question for you guys. I have a quick question for you guys. So that there is some speculation I've been seeing online in various places that one point in Twintel's potential favor is that because she's the only character whose arms are her actual arms and not her, springy arms that she fights with, that would make more sense for her in terms of carrying and using items, like shooting guns and throwing shells and things like that. Do you think that there's anything to that could make her more likely as the only character who would look normal, holding an item or not?
It could. The actual ARMS cast can retract their arms. They don't do it in-game, but
Right.
the Nintendo Twitter is just this pit of ARMS lore that wasn't in the game. And there's images in there where the ARMS characters just don't have their arms out. So I think it's possible that they could either retract their arms, or they can just somehow hold it in their giant arms somehow. I don't think it's really a point in Twintail's favor, but she definitely would look the most normal.
Right. That's how I feel. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Pretty much in complete agreement. So yeah, I honestly I do hope it's Twintail. I won't mind if it's Min Min, but I am hoping for Twintail.
Yeah, I'll echo that, yeah. I think Min Min's the most likely. I think if I had to place my bet on a character, it would be Min Min. But Twintail would just be so awesome to have in Smash.
Yeah, I completely echo that sentiment.
All right, well, I think that covers it for our ARMS in Smash discussion. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course, be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Smash Brothers and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.